So number one on our prospecting list is our guy Oscar Piastri. Now we've talked a lot about Oscar on the show. We've talked about Oscar on the Sports Card Strategy Show, you and I also. And so it's a perfect time, I think, to talk about Oscar. Why don't you tell us? Why don't you tell the audience why you think now is a good time to talk about our guy Oscar Piastri? Because he has not raced in F1 this season. He has not really raced anywhere this season, but I'll let you take it away here.
Oscar Piastri, I know you're big on him, and everyone in the prospecting F1 bubble is big on Oscar. Oscar is part of the Alpine slash Renault family, and he's sitting behind right now Ocon and also Alonso, which will probably won't go anywhere for 2023. I think, especially what Alonso did this weekend, they're going to keep him for another season. There were rumors that started going out of the F1 behind the scenes in the paddocks that Oscar Piastri could be replacing Nicholas Latifi or Go Tifi or Champion of Walls, depending depending on how you like the nickname is. I'm gonna actually respect the guy since we're both Canadians. That he would replace Latifi right after the Canadian Grand Prix. So some rumors were saying that Latifi's Grand Prix last weekend was probably his last, and then the rumors were denied. But everyone is saying that Latifi is pretty much done after the season, and Oscar Piastri would be replacing him in a Williams seat next season, and also that they would change their engine, their power unit from Mercedes to Renault as well. So that would be part of a whole deal, and Williams would be joining the Renault slash Alpine family. So it all seems that Oscar Piastri will be driving in F1 next season. And now, does that mean that it's time to buy Oscar? I still don't know. I mean, he's priced pretty high, and if you look at any other drivers that are or have been in a Williams seat, Nicholas Latifi, Alexander Albon, and George Russell. And George Russell is actually now in a Mercedes seats. And when the cards started coming out, were released in 2020, George was already one of the biggest rookies, sought after rookies of the class. And now he's with Mercedes and will be a contender for the championship next year. And he actually, in the numbers, he can actually be a contender top 3 this year. So is he a buy? I don't know. But is it reassuring for people that invested in Oscar Piastri when he showed up in the 2021 set? And probably in the 2022 set, seeing him, I don't know if they're going to make a set with him in a Williams suit or anything, his official rookie card and everything. But yeah, I mean, everything points for having Piastri of one of the top 20 drivers in the world next season.
Yeah, and I'm still super new to F1. You've followed it for a lot longer than I have, so you have some historical context around what it's like when a new driver hits F1, how hard it is to make an impact. Everything I've read about him and heard people say, and even our audience has commented actually quite a bit about Oscar on our YouTube videos and in our sports card investment report. As a premium member, you can comment on posts, and so a lot of people have actually commented on the Oscar Piastri profile on No Offseason. Point is, people are high on him. I don't know the expert level of F1 that these people have, but I assume they're pretty intelligent. They seem intelligent, and I've heard people say things about Oscar that lead me to believe that he could be an actually a pretty successful F1 driver. Greg, do you compare him to any F1 drivers out there right now? Like, could we see him be someone like at a George Russell level? The trajectory of George Russell's career, or is this going to be, like somebody else, who's more,
Yeah.
Maybe a level down from George? What do you, if you had to make a prediction on Oscar, all things considered, where do you sort of project him being competitive wise in F1 when he gets there?
Well, he's following the usual path. When you look at every single driver when they came in, look at Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz started with Toro Rosso, and then was promoted. Actually, was not promoted. Went to McLaren and then to Ferrari. So there are steps to follow there. Look at George. George was with Williams and then got promoted to Mercedes. Um, I was going to say Lance Stroll, but that's a pretty different path. And every single driver that are not, I don't want to say not exceptional, but look at look at Lewis. Lewis started straight away with McLaren. There's Charles Leclerc started with Alfa Romeo. So these young drivers have to actually prove that they can drive in F1 before being promoted to top teams, and that is the path. The same thing happened with Ocon. I mean, arguably, he's still not in a top F1 team, but could be making the jump as he's still a young, considered a young driver, but still experimented with a few seasons. So he's following the right path, but he's going to have to prove it. Look at what happened with Mick Schumacher this year. People are still saying that he still didn't score points, and Latifi actually scored points earlier than him after 27 races. And I think that with Mick, we're at 28 and counting, something like that. So yeah, it is what it is. I think he has an amazing talent. Is he on the same level at as, let's say, a George Russell, a Max Verstappen, a Charles Leclerc, a Lando Norris? I don't know, but is he a spectacular driver that can be very aggressive, just like Alexander Albon could be? I certainly think so. Yes, and if Alpine believe in him, and it's all we're strictly talking about F1 here and not necessarily about the cards, but it all goes hand to hand. If he belongs to the Renault Alpine family and Renault Alpine can develop the car well and be super competitive in the next years, then Piastri will be a contender for the championship. But everyone is fighting for that. How well how well can they adjust to the new rules? Alpine has been competitive this weekend. They've been quick in the early sessions in Canada, but they were terrible in actually having a strategy for the race, and their drivers didn't place as high as they qualified. But still, they showed great sign of improvements, as having Alonso taking second place on the grid, and Ocon actually qualifying very high. So, is it a safe investment to be with, a safe long term investment to invest in Piastri's market? I think yes. If you think his value will go up once he's sitting in an F1, won't happen because he will be sitting in a Williams seat, you know? But will we see a little bump, or will it go back up where it was when they officially announced that Piastri will be a driver next season? I think so, yes. So if you're asking me
Yeah.
what is the play with Piastri, I would sell when they announce that um, he's going to be behind a Williams seat next season, or on a Williams seat behind the wheel, and I would hold or I would buy back next season when everyone will be chasing who will be contender in the championship, and that will probably be George Russell.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when is like a typical window when those announcements start to be made? I know from watching Drive to Survive that a lot of times those announcements are actually made during the season, which I think is a
Yes.
little awkward. That typically doesn't happen in other sports. But is that typically in the fall, or when's that window start to happen where we start to see those official announcements?
Well, usually in the summer is probably when that happens. There after July, the whole month of August is the summer break, as we call it in F1, and usually right after that we can see some confirmations about who's going to be where. and what's going to happen next season. There's a lot of rumors already heating up. There's moves that have already happened. Look at what Carlos Sainz, he signed a contract extension. Same thing for Perez. Now we don't know what's going to happen with a lot of other drivers in the Red Bull in the Red Bull family. So yeah, I'm guessing early September. By early September, we will know what's for sure. But when there's persistent rumors like the Piastri one, it's usually true. I mean, the walls,
Yeah. Yeah.
the walls have eyes, and the ears, and some ears too. So, yes, I wouldn't be too worried about. We'll see what's going to happen. You know, is Drugovic going to be promoted to F1? Is De Vries going to be promoted to F1? Uh, Poor share. I mean, who's it going to be? We don't know what's
Yeah.
going to happen with actual F1 drivers that are right now in. Uh, I mean, driving actual cars are in this top 20 mix, and we don't know what's going to happen next season. So
Yeah. So I've got I think now would be, well, certainly Oscar's prices have like been cut in half from back when the 2021 set came out. So when the 2021 Topps Chrome set came out, that was his first everything, his first autos and all that. And they were going, the refractor auto out of 400 to 499. I think it's out of 400. Anyway, that was going for around $1,000 raw. It's been going for less than 500 raw. I think it's good to see some news on Oscar, because I could see that price steadily going up based on some of these rumors. And what I think that means, I'm basically going to agree with you here. I think that the play is like, you know, it's not a bad idea to buy in, even if those prices are going back up, because they got cut in half basically, which I think means that they could get back up to maybe over $1,000 when he is announced an F1 seat. And then I think, Greg, you're right. It's probably like, um, there probably will be another drop until he then actually starts performing very well, which who knows how long that could be. So I think that's the Oscar Piastri sort of trajectory here.